Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Sean Schwartzmakers, the owner of Action Coach Dallas, where we are helping business owners build and grow their businesses to ultimately improve their lives. Today, I have Dr. Priya Patel with Overbook MD, and she's the owner of Overbooked MD, and she is our guest. So, how you doing, Priya?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today. Really excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. Appreciate you spending some time with us. So today we're going to be talking about Priya's business, her journey in her business ownership, some of the challenges, best practices, and really get a sneak peek, but get some hopefully some solid details about what's going on in her business. And so if this is your first time, for any viewers, if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe and get all those notifications when we drop more of these excellent conversations in our list so you can see them. And so, Priya, without further ado, can you give us an introduction to your company and tell us some of the
Yeah,
problems that you solve?
absolutely. Well, thank you, Sean. So our company is called Overbook MD, and we provide access to top tier doctors within 48 hours. So if you look at the average wait time for Dallas, for example, or nationally, it's about 26 days to get in with a doctor. And then a really good doctor is
Mm.
going to be extremely long. And so that's what we do. And it stays in network just for any professional or employer to have access to.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. As we know, sometimes you try to make an appointment for something. Just a quick example.
Yeah.
Our son is. We're trying to do some speech. Well, we just started some speech therapy with my son, and we were on a 9 month wait list. Like
Oh my
not
goodness.
what did you say? 26 days? 9 months. We're like,
Yep.
holy crap, that's crazy. So, anyways. And even 26 days is a long time. So depending, of course, if it's something that's medically needed, you're like, hey, I don't really need to wait 26 days or however long, right? So that
That's
sounds
right.
pretty awesome. How does it work? Like, people just sign up, they sign on, they make a request. Like, how does it work?
Yeah. So it's very simple and intuitive. They go to our website, overbookmd.com, and they will see a box that appears, and you pick your specialty. So whether it's orthopedic, neck, or back, or let's say there's a cardiology need, you pick the specialty or practice that you're looking for, and then from there, they actually pick their zip code, and then they pick their insurance. And so all three of those different data points will match them with someone that's in their insurance network, or if they want to go with cash, and they will also match them with someone that is within their zip code as well. So that's kind of how it works. And they fill out a short questionnaire. And that will allow them to kind of match the doctor, and the doctor knows exactly what's going on with the patient when they schedule the appointment.
Yeah, excellent. Good stuff. So let's move into maybe a little bit about what makes your business so special. So how and why this business? How and why did you start this business?
Well, I think, being in healthcare, I've been in healthcare for 16 years. And I think a lot of times you see what happens from a challenge standpoint. I've been blessed to work with some amazing organizations such as Baylor Scott and White Health and HCA, amazing mentors. And along the journey, I mean, the biggest thing is there are opportunities that we can fix. And so what I've really wanted to do is really get in there and support a process that has been a long time issue. So we've become conditioned to waiting for great doctors or waiting to schedule an appointment. And it's normal to go, wait for 6 to 8 weeks, even if you're not feeling well. We want to change that, especially in an on-demand economy, right? When you have access to groceries or, your household goods immediately within days or hours. Why can't we do that for something that's really important to us, which is our healthcare? So we've decided to. So it's this idea was founded myself, but along with myself, there's two other co-founders. There's Dr. Blake Staub, who is a prominent local neurosurgeon here in DFW. And then we also have Addison Kim, who is a partner at a local private equity firm as well. So the three of us saw this need, and I would see from an operations standpoint significant scheduling opportunities. There was cancellations, there was no shows. And then at the same time, Dr. Staub, for example, would get calls to say, hey, I need to get an appointment now. I've been told I need surgery. I need a second opinion. Can you get me in? Well, the average patient would have to wait such a long time, he would make a phone call and get him in within that day or the next day. So as we started seeing, people started asking, how are you guys doing this? And we were able to understand that there's opportunities on the healthcare system side with our operations and experience in that area. And then on the other side, there is a gap where patients actually need that access. So that's kind of what we saw, that it was kind of like a marriage of both parties. And for a lack of better words, it's almost like, Uber has for their transportation needs. We have the same thing for healthcare needs. Physicians that are really good will pick up the patient when they have availability. And then at the same time, the patients are getting access within 48 hours.
Yeah, that's good stuff. If I haven't had much medical issues, but my mom's had some issues here and there, and
Yes.
my wife, I think I mentioned, is a dentist, and so trust me, I hear all of the, I guess I would say, complaints about the healthcare system, really from both sides, the patients as well as the folks who work, the doctors and so forth that work in the system. So I hear about all the different issues. I mean, it's pretty awesome. You're spearheading at least one of the challenges that, is affecting a lot of the patients. So
Yeah.
good for
Thank
you
you.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
I wanted to add to that, if you don't mind. I think you made a really good point, is a lot of times we don't need this access right now, but when we do, it becomes very frantic because we're not used to navigating the healthcare environment. So a lot of times you are Googling, you're not used to this. Where do I look? Who do I talk to? And so instead of having to kind of just find your way in the dark, we really kind of guide and provide that access in a very streamlined process. So that way, you're not you're focusing on getting your health care and taking care of yourself rather than spending hours on the phone trying to find the right doctor. So that's a really good point that you brought up.
yeah, my mom had an issue several years ago, and so it was like a quick learning process. Like, all right, well, how does this work? Well, you gotta get in touch with these doctors and which hospitals and what's the primary
Yes,
care and insurance. And I'm like, and it can be like you said, especially if it's kind of an urgent scenario. I mean, you're already trying to deal with everything. Try to learning all that at the same time is a
right.
challenge for sure. Um, so who primarily does your business serve? So if I'm in the audience and I'm listening, how do I know if I'm a good fit?
So anyone is a good fit if you need access to great care. We're available for you. What we're seeing is a lot of employers, so directly to employers, direct to different companies that are local, national. They're really looking for this opportunity. I will say we are focused only on the DFW area as of right now, so that just as we continue to grow, we'll go into different markets. But DFW local companies, we have companies like Greyhound Bus Lines, where they have employees that may have injuries and need to get back on the job quickly. Or we have kind of law firms and different kind of insurance brokers are also a great client for us as well. So if they're looking
Mhm.
to provide innovative benefits to their consumer or their clients, this is really what we provide as well.
Cool. So you work with businesses that have multiple
Businesses,
employees.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Small business, or is it mostly bigger businesses or?
We like the small and medium businesses just because it's something that, they're able to implement. I think with national, the as we continue to grow, we will expand in that market.
Yeah.
But right now, I think the small to mid are more local and focused in DFW.
Yeah.
We also like large companies, but DFW bases really are where we're at right now.
Yeah. Cool. Well, the we also similarly work with small to medium-sized businesses, and so
Okay.
one of the reasons is because they're usually easier to get in touch with, right? I mean, we could
Correct.
we could all
Yes.
work with these bigger businesses, but it's super long sales cycle. There's like 18 different people you
Yes.
got to talk to. So yeah, it sounds like the small to medium-sized is a good fit.
Yes.
And then what makes your business unique? Like, why do your clients or customers, why do they choose you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times it's a couple of things, right? So one, it's a personal relationship. I will always start with that. I think if, the business has a group of team members that are trustworthy and that understand the industry, so I think that really supersedes the reason for any of the other reasons, right? They know that behind the scenes, the team that really drives this are experts in healthcare and especially in technology and financial kind of like the platforms and arenas that exist. So we have a great team. That's number one. The second thing is the platform is seamless and it really covers, it's intuitive. So what I mean by that is for employees or for consumers, they can go online within under 5 minutes. They're able to submit a request and they don't have to really think or pull anything out. They don't even have to pull out their insurance card. They just need to know which insurance they have, where their zip code is, and how are they feeling, and input all of that information. So it's a really intuitive process for consumers or employees. And then on the flip side, for physicians, it's very intuitive for them. It's a screened process, so they know the type of patients that are coming in. They're getting matched with only the in-network patients. And then it's within a zip code that they know that patients will, know how far the drive is, right? So
Mhm.
schedulers are able to get the information and schedule easily. So it's again on both sides, it's clean, it's seamless, and it allows them to kind of easily schedule and complete the tasks on both sides. So
I'm in. I'm sold. I like it. Sounds great. Yeah.
yes.
So this leads me to marketing, which is sometimes, well, it's vital, but sometimes business owners have a challenge with the marketing side of business.
Yes.
What's the number one marketing strategy that's brought you the most business?
So that is an excellent question. I think so. Marketing, I realize, is an art. It's a little bit of art and it's a little bit of science, right? And marketing is what I think has worked really well. Is it depends on the messaging that you have out there. No matter what platform you're using, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook. What are you saying in your message, and is it really impacting the end user, right? So if you have pain points that you can really relate to the consumer. We're seeing a lot of responses to that. I would say that's one thing. The second thing is a lot of people don't know about this product, right? So we kind of are, there's nothing really like us out there on the market that provides a simple solution to a need that's really great. And so what we're realizing is a lot of education about our product and our services is really exciting to them. And then lastly, we're seeing a lot of our end users or those that are on our platforms, they're wanting to hear about expert discussion points, right? So, if I'm having back pain, what does that mean? Do I need to see a specialist now or can I wait? So some of these things that kind of are questions in our head and no one's really asked those questions. We try to answer some of those behind I guess like the questions that nobody feels comfortable asking. So we're
Yeah.
noticing that is what marketing is about. Education. It's about supporting, making sure that people feel like they see value in the messaging you're putting out there.
Yeah, we just had an event last Friday. We work with a lot of contractors. We also work with a lot of professional services. So sometimes we do some kind of industry specific events. We did a contractor event this past Friday, and the focus on the education piece of the event was for marketing. And we talked about the two roles of marketing, communication and education. And that's like
Yes,
pretty much exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, getting the word out there because people don't, like you said, don't know it exists. And then number
right.
two, educating them on these various aspects of, what you guys do, how would they choose, how would they know whether they should choose you, all that good stuff. So
That's
you
right.
said social media has been one of the better
Yeah, I
strategies?
would
Yeah.
say social media has been because when a lot of people when we're validating a brand, is this a real brand? Is this something that exists? The first thing
Yeah.
people do is go to social media to see what that looks like. And I
Yeah.
think we've seen a lot, like especially even physicians when they're trying to check us out to see,
Mhm.
is it a company that they want to associate their personal brand, right, as a physician? So they'll check us out. Um, LinkedIn, I would say we're seeing a lot of great B2B opportunity and relationships there. So that's more about your professional community. Even physicians, again, are very, very engaged on that platform.
Mhm.
They see kind of what our business is looking for. It's great market outlook for a lot of businesses. And so we see a lot of value with that platform as well. So, I mean, for us, you can do cold calls, definitely like email marketing, things like that. And we definitely do that. the best, I would say, marketing is just someone that you know and having a warm conversation. So I always say, we have a team that works from a business development standpoint, and we talk about, what's the source that's actually really seeing a lot of success with closing a deal or whatever you're looking for from a business standpoint. And it always goes back to warm connection. So
Yeah.
it's important to go and find that warm connection. And if somebody knows that company, we always say, hey, could you, do me a favor as a friend and introduce me to XYZ? And a lot of times, there's two things that come from that. One, you're getting a warm connection, but the end user or the other business that you're trying to get in touch with, they see trust and value because they already know that person that is
Yeah.
interested in you. So I think that's kind of the win-win that you get in those connections.
Yeah, we talk about leverage a lot in business, and
Yes,
one of the ways you can leverage is relationships. Hey, if I leverage the fact that that person has a relationship with that person, and that person to get introduced to me, they automatically
that's
have
right.
some common ground, some familiarity, some amount of trust, rather than some random person they don't know. Yeah.
That's
So
exactly right. Yep.
yeah, yeah, love it, love it. So looking back on your journey so far, what has been the most memorable or hardest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, well, I would say, working in healthcare systems has been probably, something that's extremely eye-opening. I think being a pharmacist myself and, growing up in the healthcare system, I would say Baylor Scott and White Health was kind of one where I had a lot of great mentors and support to kind of grow me into a healthcare executive. And when I look at kind of the overall picture of healthcare, it's not easy. People that work in healthcare, it's a very selfless, altruistic type of work that you do. No matter what the situation, the condition, as a healthcare professional, you will do no harm, right? And we literally live by that, whether it's, having to spend exuberant amount of money to make sure that, something is taken care of, because that is what we do. We take care of people. It is not a manufacturing industry. It's not like you're not, it's not a belt that's producing supplies that continues to go. You're dealing with people, and each person has to be handled individually. So, I would say that the biggest challenge was navigating our healthcare system. I think that's a cliched saying, but there's red tape. There's, people will say, why is healthcare not innovative? Or why is it taking so long for healthcare to catch up? Well, there's so many different components that we have to take care of. And first and foremost is priority and patient safety, sorry. And patient safety is incredibly important when you've got thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of lives coming through these healthcare systems. So it was probably the most challenging experience, but the most rewarding experience because the amount of detail and thoughtfulness that you have around each process and procedure that you create and build is very, very heartfelt. And at the end of the day, you're impacting lives. And I really, my heart goes out to the healthcare communities, the healthcare systems that have to deal with a lot of the tough decisions and funding and, different
Mm.
things that go on policy. So there's a lot out there. So how did we overcome? I think, a lot of it is that camaraderie between different healthcare professionals, leaning on each other. We talk about the pandemic, but one of the most remarkable times that I've experienced is seeing competitor healthcare systems get on a call and talk about how are we going to tackle some of the challenges so our patients have access to care and drugs, right?
Yeah.
So we were able to do that. It was amazing. And I think this next step in this journey for me is being able to provide a solution with my colleagues, the co-founders, Dr. Staub and Addison, to identify, this is the next step. We want to be able to find a solution to access to care and then, continue that journey of driving great care. So,
Yeah. Healthcare is, like you said, dealing with, well, it's all dealing always with people. And I mean, again, my wife is a dentist, so I hear about some of the different experiences she has, and I'm like, yeah, we work with people. I mean, what we do is a lot very relational as well, and we have a lot of impact on
yes.
business owners, things like that. But healthcare is a different flavor of that, and I don't know if I could do it. I could
Yeah.
totally see the challenge with deal. I mean, people's health is critical and, all kinds of emotion, of course, wrapped up in that for good reason.
Yes.
Um, so good on you, Priya, Dr. Priya.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate
So
that.
what about team? Let's talk about team for a little bit. What have been your
Yeah.
biggest learnings as an employer since you began in business?
Yeah, so being an employer, so it's very different, right, compared to a large corporate system versus a nimble startup. In a corporate system, the common denominator I would say between both of them is provide creating a culture of trust, is creating a culture of growth and fostering their personal goals that they have as well, right? So no matter what, it's important for me to understand what is this team trying to gain from their own personal goals or professional goals that they're trying to accomplish. So the culture piece is very important, and it's also important to have transparency in communication. Healthcare is no different than the airline industry. We always have to have communication, transparency, so that way, again, patients have safety at all times, right? So that's really important. The difference, though, between a corporate and startup culture is you have to move, I would say, extremely fast in a startup environment. You're constantly, you get this as a business owner. You're surviving for, making sure that you have revenue coming through the door. You're making sure that, people are still loving your services. So from a customer service standpoint, that is also very, very important for us as well. So our team is extremely dynamic. I've learned that you also have to be extremely transparent and direct and give communication and feedback immediately. Don't wait, a week because you're burning cash, every single minute that things are not moving in the right direction. And have the conversation of, everything that we do is for this business, and but we're also here to make sure that employees feel valued. I think that's the biggest thing, so that they can drive trust in the services we provide.
Yeah, and as the leader, of course, if you're not overt about the culture and sort of continually reminding the team and things like that, then
Yes,
yeah, it's not a focus because they're never hearing it or they're never seeing it. So
that's
important
right.
stuff for sure. And everyone, I feel like a lot of times people are a little shy to talk about money, but and they're really interested in chatting about sort of the cause and the purpose because of course they're passionate about what they do. And at the end of the day, though, I'm like, hey, you need that revenue in the door to keep helping people, right? So like, it's
That's
got to be
right.
one of those things and keep, like you said, keeps coming in. Otherwise, if it's not a focus, you're not gonna be able to help a lot of people, right?
That's
So it
right.
is a requirement to help those people and important, of course. So what about if you were to do anything differently? If you started the business over today, what would you do different?
I don't know. I was thinking about what are the things, how are things going? I think the planning of this business was done very well, right? Like knowing what the pain points are, and understanding what the solutions are. I think we've done a really good job of coming up with those solutions. If I honestly, I know this sounds crazy, but I wish we would have done this sooner, right? I wish we would
Hmm.
have done this years ago. And I think that's where a lot of times and it's all about timing. So maybe this is the right time, but after the pandemic, I think access to care became harder and harder. And innovation in healthcare is sometimes pretty slow. And so if there was a way that I could go back in time and start this process earlier, I feel like this would have been extremely advantageous during the times that were pretty tough. Making sure people were online, that's where they were looking to. There's not a lot of resources. And especially when there were a lot of conditions that were struggling due to COVID complications, I wish we were available then. So I think that was probably one thing that if I could go back in time and start this earlier.
Yeah, it doesn't sound weird or silly. I forget the word you use, but we hear that
Crazy.
all the time. Crazy. Yeah, it doesn't sound
Yeah.
crazy at all. We hear that all the time. Almost every time we're chatting with folks, like, man, I wish I had done this sooner. And
That's interesting. Okay.
there's all these mental blocks and reasons why people don't get started, and it's not the right time. I don't have the money or the people and all these other things. But almost every single time people are like, "Oh, I wish I had gotten started sooner." Right? So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
That's
So
good to know. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right in line with what we typically hear, anyways. So, what's next? What's the next goal? What's the next milestone for you in the
I think,
business?
yeah. So we actually have a really neat announcement. So we were very focused on the specialty access because that is kind of the biggest it's the hardest appointment to get for any patient or any employee or consumer out there, right? But what we've also realized is there's a lot of feedback that consumers and employers have told us, and they're like, we want access to primary care. So in the month of May, we will be launching our access to primary care.
All right.
And so 40 within 48 hours, we are also reviewing all of our doctors and, I think that is something I failed to mention a little bit earlier as well, but the quality that we provide makes us really unique. So we review all the data for all of our doctors. We make sure that every single doctor has their patient outcomes that they've treated reviewed, their experience scores reviewed, the cost reviewed, and then also any credentialing and licensing information. So we know exactly who the doctor is on our platform. And so, kind of going back to your question, we are launching that primary care model as well because we know that that's an access point that's been difficult. So, a lot of people move into Dallas. As you know, there's a lot of growth that's happening here in Dallas, but they don't have a
Yep.
primary care physician. So, we're there to help find that access to a primary care physician that, they need within 48 hours and, have their wellness check or if they need a surgical clearance or whatever it may be, we will take care of that for them as well.
Awesome. Any foreseen challenges with this newer or this new service or the new
Yeah, the
service, I guess.
expansion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this will not I don't see this as a challenge, but I think this is finally like it's a comprehensive service. I think that's going to be something that's exciting. Um I know that again, it always goes back to, new businesses, small business, opportunities, which is marketing, right? Getting the word out there and
Yeah.
making sure that everybody knows that because we were focused on specialty,
Right.
now that we have that access as well. So I think it'll just be a marketing opportunity for us.
Cool. Yeah. Good stuff. So before we get into the last question, how can others learn more about you and your company? How can they get in contact?
Yeah, I mean, so I overbookmd.com, right? That's where everything lives. We have employers that are looking to work with us. We have a for employers page that really goes into the details and dissects some of the cost savings that we have every time a patient or an employee is out for an employee injury or personal injury. That's that much time that's away. So let's get them in to see a great doctor.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of information there. We have a lot of great blogs that talk about different conditions. Why is getting immediate access important? Because the longer we delay our injury or issue that we're having, chances are there's going to be further complications. And we all know that, but sometimes reading it makes more sense. So we have blogs that will kind of help consumers out there understand that. And then I'm always available. I definitely put my email out there. It's ppatel@overbookmd.com. And anyone that wants to get in touch with me, I'm easily available. Or we also have Instagram and Facebook as well. So
All right. The social medias, as you mentioned. So
yeah, we do.
good, good deal. And so any special offers, last question, any special offers you'd
Yeah.
like to offer any listeners?
Yeah, so for the month of May, we want to offer so to access our platform, it's only $30 to get in front of, the long lines to the doctors that you're trying to see.
Yep.
And so if you use our code FastPass 2025, it's only $1.
All
And it
right.
allows anybody to access, whether it's that primary care visit that you've been meaning to book, or OBGYN, or a dentist, or a chiropractor, whatever it may be, we have that access immediately available to you.
All right. Sounds excellent. $1. I think almost anyone can enjoy that. So good stuff. Well, thank you
It,
very much. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us today, sharing all the details, and thanks to the audience for watching. And we appreciate you being on, Dr. Priya, and we hope to have you back maybe sometime later.
Thank you so much, Sean. This has been wonderful, and congrats on all the work that you guys are doing as well. That's exciting, and we're here to support you guys as well. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, have a great one.
Thank you.